my YouTube friends! OBS, we need to talk. I've been using OBS Studio for about 10 years now. It's been the backbone of my live streams, my tutorials, and a lot of the content that you see on this channel. In fact, this content. For the longest time when people asked me, what should I use to live stream? The answer was automatic. It was a no-brainer. It was OBS. Every single time. But over the last year or so, something has changed, and not in a good way. Today, I want to share my recent experiences with OBS, why I think it's become less reliable, and honestly, make a bit of a public plea to the OBS team to refocus on stability and efficiency before a lot of creators like myself are forced to move on. And if you've been having more crashes and weird issues with OBS lately, I want you to stick around and tell me in the comments if this sounds familiar. So you know what? Let's get to it! Now when I started using OBS, it was honestly kind of magical. It was lightweight, it ran on pretty much anything, including the junk I had when I started out. You could throw it on a modest laptop and add a couple of screens and a webcam and a game capture, and it just worked. There was no drama, and there was no mystery crashes. Then the plugin system really took off, and that was the secret sauce. You had this efficient, stable core, and you could bolt on pretty much anything you could possibly think of. Virtual cameras, special transitions, advanced audio tools, and for the most part, it all played nice together. You could customize OBS like crazy, and it still stayed reliable. That's why I've recommended OBS for years. Not because it was the prettiest or the easiest, but because it was the most trustworthy. It always worked. But over the last year or so, my relationship with OBS has really started to change. Even the simplest things that used to be absolutely reliable for me are now breaking repeatedly. I'd open OBS to run my normal streaming or recording layout. Then I'd open a second OBS window so I could record OBS itself to create tutorials. I then switch profiles and scene collections to whatever I was doing a tutorial on, hit record, and boom, instant tutorial. This was my bread and butter. I've done it for hundreds of videos just like this one. Now, when I open OBS in a second window and try to switch profiles or scene collections, well, it locks up. Sometimes it hard freezes. Sometimes it just hangs there. Usually I'll just get this message right here. And closing that second window, well, pretty much after this happens, it does nothing at all. And then I ended up having to kill OBS completely. And sometimes even with only one window opened, just changing profiles or scene collections is enough to crash it anyways. So of course I thought, alright, it's probably some kind of plugin conflict. I pushed this software really hard. I had so many plugins loaded, I probably just overloaded it. So I did the thing that we all hate to do. I stripped it down completely and removed every single plugin that was loading on the system. So at this point I have no fancy add-ons, no weird experiments, just plain OBS. Guess what? The crashes didn't stop. Profile changes, scene collection changes on the second window would pretty much always crash the first time I tried to use it. And that second window pretty much never closes down when you click the X at the top. It's all become a gamble, and that is a huge problem for someone who relies on this for content creation and live streaming. And I know I'm not the only one. I mean, even when I got it working, sometimes it would just lock when you're changing scenes. And this is with OBS completely stripped, with no plugins. And it's not just about the crashes. OBS doesn't feel like the same efficient workhorse that it used to be. It feels heavier. It feels slower. It feels like it's struggling more even on a powerful system that used to chew through these exact same setups without any problems. Where I used to be totally confident that OBS could run on almost any halfway decent machine, now I'm finding myself babysitting it, watching for freezes, watching for stutters, wondering if changing a scene or adding an image is gonna take down the whole thing. And when you're live or you're recording content, you can't just redo it easily. It's really pretty stressful. It's not what you want from a tool that is supposed to be the rock and foundation of your content. It's one of the main reasons my regular streams have all but disappeared. My streams are complex, there's absolutely no question about it. I pretty much use them as tech demos to show you guys what's possible with live streaming. But when regular features that had always worked became unreliable, the streams became more of a comedy of errors. I'm not gonna lie, it's pretty embarrassing when you're supposed to be the authority and the things on your own stream don't work the way they're supposed to. But at one time, they all worked perfectly together in OBS. What I really care about is this: did it used to be reliable for my real-world workflows? And is it still? For me, the answer right now is that it used to be rock solid, and lately, it just isn't. Now I gotta pause here for a second because I know there are some of my long-term viewers yelling at the screen right now saying, "Why did you update OBS?" See, I've done multiple videos on my philosophy of if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Meaning if your setup works, leave it alone and don't update it. And I really hope that a lot of you follow this philosophy, because if you do, you probably haven't had any of the issues that I'm having right now. Unfortunately, I can't follow my own advice in this case for one simple reason: my content. See, when I create videos teaching people OBS, every new viewer will be downloading the newest version of OBS to start their streaming journey. So I pretty much have to use the newest version of OBS in my tutorials to be sure that I'm giving the most up-to-date information. Believe me, if that wasn't the case, I'd still be living in blissful ignorance with all my stuff still working the way it's supposed to. It makes me really sad, to be perfectly honest with you. Now I want to be really clear here. This is not an OBS hit piece. OBS is free and open source. It's given an entire generation of creators the ability to stream and record at a professional level without paying a single dime for the software. I absolutely respect the developers. I respect the project. This channel has grown in large part because OBS exists. But because I respect it, I think this conversation is actually important. Right now, it feels like OBS is trying to be everything to everyone. More features, more complexity, more knobs and switches and integrations, and something along the way, the rock-solid stability and efficiency that made OBS the obvious choice have taken the back seat. So this part is specifically for the OBS team and contributors, if any of you actually see this. I'm not asking for more features. I'm not asking for more bells and whistles or more shiny things to toggle on and off. What I'm asking for is a stability first era, an update cycle that says, for this release, we're not adding anything new. We're just making the foundation rock solid again. Fix the crashes when switching profiles and scene collections. Tighten up whatever's causing these lockups with adding images or changing scenes or all the other lockups that we're experiencing. Refocus on that legendary efficiency that let OBS run on a freaking potato. Because if creators like me who've been evangelizing OBS for damn near a decade start losing confidence in its reliability, that's a big red flag. And I want OBS to win. I want to keep recommending it on every single video. But right now, I'm having a harder and harder time doing that in good conscience. So what does this mean for you if you're watching this? First, I want to know if you're seeing the same kinds of issues. Are you getting crashes? Is switching scenes and profiles freaking you out because you never know when it's going to crash? Does OBS feel heavier than it used to on the same hardware? Tell me your experience down in the comments and be specific. What version are you on? What kind of crashes are you having? Let's give the OBS team real-world feedback from people who rely on OBS every single day. Second, because of what I'm going through, I'm starting to look seriously at alternatives. Now, I'm not talking about Streamlabs because that's built on the same core and it brings its own baggage. I'm talking about completely different approaches, tools like Meld or Polypop, and even maybe some browser-based platforms like EVMux or Riverside that are starting to offer a pretty similar feature set without having to run everything locally on your system. I'm going to be making a follow-up video where I talk specifically about those alternatives, what they do well, what they don't, and whether they're actually ready to replace OBS for certain creators. And then of course I'll be doing tutorials to show you how to do some of the same things that we used to do in OBS, but in these other platforms. OBS has been the king of live streaming tools for a very long time. But kings don't stay kings by accident. They stay kings by listening, adapting, and sometimes by going back and fixing the foundation instead of just adding more floors on top of the building. So OBS, from someone who's been in your corner for a very long time, we need you to do better on stability and efficiency. And to those of you watching, if you want to see that follow-up video where I walk through alternatives to OBS and how they compare from a real creator's perspective, make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you don't miss it. Drop your stories about OBS in the comments and let's see if it's just me or if there are a lot of us out there quietly dealing with the same problems. My name is Michael Feyrer. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.